Alright, number 3. Third video. Again, I'm doing this because I feel like I really need to. Because as a Christian, I'm a Christian. I believe that Jesus Christ lived and he died for my sins, and that the least I could do is live for him. Live by what his standards are. At least try to, and the only way I can figure anything out is to get in his word and go from there. So anyway, if we stick through this, I'm sure people will get a chance to know. You'll get a chance to know a little bit more about me, and hopefully, I get to know something about making sense out of this walk, this whole thing. Anyway, they say when you're having hard times or in trouble, run to the Lord. So, in the Word, here we go. See if I can get through the hard part, because I think Genesis is pretty hard. I mean, I in general, I wouldn't have said that before, but just the whole creation issue and why God did what He did doesn't make rational sense to most people, including myself. And it's always interesting, because as Christians, a lot of times we just go based on what we hear people say and don't take out the time to read the Bible for ourselves. But I've read this, and I've definitely had issues with different things before. So it'd be interesting to see if I'm able to have any dialogue with anyone out here that maybe we can get to some better understanding of some things. So here we go, chapter 3, the man and woman's sin. Now the serpent was the shrewdest of all creatures the Lord God had made. Funny, the next statement kind of goes to what I was going to say. Really? It says, now the serpent was the shrewdest of all creatures the Lord God had made. Really? That's but it actually says really. Really, with a question mark in parentheses, or quotations rather. He asked the woman. So the serpent is asking the woman, really? Really? Did God really say you must not eat any of the fruit in the garden? Now, of course, God didn't say that. Did anybody catch that? He says, did God really say you must not eat any of the fruit in the garden? He put the fruit there for them to eat. Anyway, sorry, let me just read. Okay. Did God really say you must not eat any of the fruit in the garden? And the woman, verse 2. Of course we may eat it, the woman told him. It's only the fruit from the tree at the center of the garden that we are not allowed to eat. God says we must not eat it or even touch it, or we will die. So, and I've heard people talk about, oh, she said even touch it. God didn't say that. It's like, okay. Okay. Verse 4. You won't die, the serpent hissed. Starting to sound like a children's book. Okay. God knows that God knows that your eyes will be open when you eat it. You will become just like God, knowing everything, both good and evil. The woman was convinced. The fruit looked so fresh and delicious, and it would make her so wise. I guess she knows what wise means. What? How can she? How can you have a desire for something you don't even know what it is? The woman was convinced the fruit looked so fresh and delicious, and it would make her so wise. So she ate some of the fruit. She also gave some to her husband, who was with her. And a lot of people think that Adam was just standing there the whole time doing nothing, based on that statement. Okay, then he ate it too. At that moment, their eyes were open, and they suddenly felt shame at their nakedness. So they strung fig leaves together around their hips to cover themselves. Toward evening, they heard the Lord God walking about in the garden. Wonder what that's like to hear God walking about in the garden. Okay. Um. Okay, so they heard him walking about in the garden, so they hid themselves among the trees. The Lord God called to Adam, "Where are you?" Uh, okay. Uh, yeah, where are you? Verse 10. He replied, "I heard you, so I hid. I was afraid because I was naked." "Who told you that you were naked?" the Lord God asked. "Have you eaten the fruit I commanded you not to eat?" "Yes," Adam admitted. "But it was the woman you gave me who brought me the fruit, and I ate it." Then the Lord God asked the woman, "How could you do such a thing?" "The serpent tricked me," she replied. That's why I ate it. Serpent tricked me. So the Lord God said to the serpent, "Because you have done this, you will be punished. You are singled out from all the domestic and wild animals of the whole earth to be cursed. You will grovel in the dust as long as you live, crawling along on your belly. From now on, you and the woman will be enemies, and your offspring and her offspring will be enemies. He will crush your head, and you will strike his heel." Then he said to the woman, "You will bear children with intense pain and suffering. And though your desire will be for your husband, he will be master. He will be your master." And to Adam he said, "Because you listened to your wife and ate the fruit I told you not to eat, I have placed a curse on the ground. All your life you will struggle to scratch a living from it. It will grow thorns and thistles for you. Though you will eat of its grains, all your life you will sweat to produce food until your dying day. Then you will return to the ground from which you came, for you were made from dust, and to the dust you will return." Then Adam named his wife Eve, because she would be the mother of all people everywhere. And the Lord God made clothing from animal skins for Adam and his wife. Then the Lord God said, "The people have become as we are, knowing everything, both good and evil. What if they eat the fruit of the tree of life? Then they will live forever." So the Lord God banished Adam and his wife from the Garden of Eden, and he sent Adam out to cultivate the ground from which he had been made. After banishing them from the garden, the Lord God stationed mighty angelic beings to the east of Eden, and a flaming sword flashed back and forth, guarding the way to the tree of life. That concludes chapter 3. Excuse me. Interesting. All your life you will sweat to produce food until your dying day. Then you will return to the ground from which you came, for you were made from the dust, and to dust you return. Me being an interesting thinker, I guess, it's like I've always heard that and just, took it all face value and whatnot, but somebody who makes a machine, once they make the machine that does the work for them, they're not sweating. And as far as the jokers that own the slaves, they wasn't sweating. Once they got to a certain level, now of course those down in the south, they probably sweated just from the daggone heat alone. But you go on down the line. Eventually, you get to the point where they rich enough where they ain't doing nothing no more, and the food is just there because they got somebody else doing the work. I mean, heck, it didn't take that long because heck, the kings and whatnot in the Bible ain't had to sweat, and they was eating. Just a thought. Just a thought. Anyway, I had to blow my nose again. I'm sorry. So instead of you watching me blow my nose and drink water, and I'm done with chapter 3, I'm gonna go ahead and stop it here and start chapter 4, new video. How about that?